So, here we are again. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the eighth episode of the Branch Out podcast, hosted by Vince and Emmanuel.
Hey, how's it going? Well, this week we don't have any guests with us, so it's a much
By our
simpler.
choice.
Yes,
They were lining up at the
they
door.
they were clamoring to
and
get on. We had to say no, not this time.
It's enough.
Yeah,
So, we're never having guests on again. You had your chance.
that's done. Been there, done that. Yeah, and the last week I was ill, so it's mea culpa.
Mm.
My
I didn't
fault.
even ask you how you're doing today. Are you
I'm
contagious?
definitely on the up and up. Yesterday I spent a couple hours in the garden, so I probably got a bit more dust in my sinuses than I would care to have wished for. Um, so yeah, but generally okay.
Good. You're just under the weather?
Well, I got a nasty cold,
Mm.
which was yeah, it's been a crazy couple weeks. With Serena going overseas.
Yeah.
Um, she's visiting Australia, visiting her family in Australia, and it was incredibly stressful to work out the flights.
Yeah, she literally went to the airport to her booked flight and they couldn't let her on board. What exactly
No,
happened
they
there?
actually well, poof. So it's a bit of a story there. How are you?
Why are you gonna just cliffhanger that? I thought you were gonna go into the story. You're like, this is an amazing story. I'm gonna blow your mind. How are you, by the way?
How
Like,
are
I
you?
don't care how I am. I want to know how it happened. I'm doing good. I'll tell you how I'm doing good after you tell that story.
Are you sure? You don't want to tell me now how you're doing good?
I'm afraid that my interest will fade if I tell you how good I'm doing, because I've got a story to tell as well.
How long is it to tell your story?
I don't know. How long does it tell your story?
My
Like
story
you
will
worked out, like it's gonna take like 30 seconds.
well my story I've told
I haven't
uh
told my story. I'm not gonna tell you the story like I told my story to other people.
uh-huh.
I'm just gonna go because at this point we've already gone like as longer than it would take. So yeah, I had an interesting experience this weekend. I went with some friends to a rave, like a music event.
Uh-huh.
Um, I've never gone to anything like that. It was really fun.
Okay.
Really fun. Yeah, I underestimated what like the physical toll of that would be though,
Mm.
because we met at like 5 in the afternoon,
Okay.
and I got to sleep that I don't even know how to define that. I got to sleep at 7 in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
so being awake for that long and also just like being physically active as well. Uh, yeah, that was a lot. I'm glad I don't work Mondays yet.
Yes.
Last week where I don't do that. Actually, no, no, it is last week where I don't do that. Damn.
Okay.
This is the last Monday I won't work for a long time.
Okay.
Changing company, in case y'all don't know. So tell me about Serena.
Brave New World.
Yeah. So she was at the airport,
Mm-hmm.
and by your body language, it really sucked that she couldn't board.
No, what sucked is that
It
she
was
did
because of a
board.
COVID thing, right?
Yeah.
So
So
she had a negative test. It's coming back to me now a little bit. Well, or why don't you tell because you know better.
I'll just let you keep reaching in the dark.
I'm reaching in the dark and I found
So
something there before.
there was a penguin involved.
there was something to do with
And ice cream. Something yeah.
I don't remember that. But no, there was a negative test, right? And she still couldn't fly.
Yeah, so we had been trying to get uh flights to Australia, well, oh, since at least a year.
You scooch in a bit.
since at least a year. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm kind of falling out of the picture, haven't I? And well, the Australians have had this system where you have to do this 2 week quarantine if you are unvaccinated, or as I like to say, uninjected. Um, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and then not too long ago, a couple months or a few months ago, they changed it from 14 days down to 7 days of quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
And they also made quite a lot of changes from what the quarantine was before. Before the quarantine was, well, there were an incredible amount of really bad, uh, how can I say, experiences by people going into quarantine.
I saw some of those. Yeah. I wasn't sure what to take away from it. Whether that made up the majority of people. I mean, it doesn't have to take up the majority for it to be an issue,
Yeah, yeah.
but
It's really hard to say
mm-hmm.
because a lot of people having bad experiences will not say anything.
Mm, yeah.
And likewise, you could say a lot of people who uh, will say something will be those who have a bad experience. So it's kind
Yeah.
of
Or you could be one of those influencers who were
mm.
almost definitely paid to be like, oh, this is like a summer camp.
And that's the other side too, is that you will have people who are saying, "Oh, this is the best thing ever. I just get to do nothing for 2 weeks," you
Mm-hmm.
know. And you look at them and you're like, "Yeah, you're as vain as they come. I'd expect nothing more from
Mm-hmm.
someone like you."
Hmm.
But then you had a lot of people with children, like whole
That's
families, or
challenging.
like, you know,
Yeah.
one parent, two kids, or something like that.
Mm.
And the bad experiences ranged from um, terrible food. So this is the thing: the quarantine is not like anything I've heard of in Europe. Right? In Europe,
Mm-hmm.
whenever there was a quarantine mandate, it was you know, you could basically say where you were quarantining. Most people would choose at home.
Yeah.
And if they chose somewhere else, then it was like, okay, I'm doing quarantine, you know, somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Most people chose to do it at home, though, if they could. And in this case, what would happen is you would arrive at for example, the Sydney airport. You would be escorted from the Sydney airport by police. Usually, there's more than just you and whoever you're with. Usually, there's several people because there's flights coming in, and they're just all these people are put together. Okay, you're all doing quarantine,
Mm.
put onto a bus, and shuttled to your prison, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to this so-called quarantine hotel or quarantine facility. They're just basically repurposed hotels, and you're given like a welcome package. You're given some info, and then basically goodbye. You're put into your room, and you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to set foot outside that room for the next 14 days. And the the strange thing is that a lot of people they reported thinking that, oh, that's not a big deal. It's a hotel, nice place, got a TV, can mess around on my laptop or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
Instagram, whatever.
That's if you comply 100%. Like if you I saw a video of a girl who I believe she just wanted to go and wash her laundry and they were giving her shit to just go to the laundry room.
Yeah.
Like
No, no, you're not allowed to leave your room. Period.
yeah, they had some of them have like a balcony or like a porch
Yeah.
and they're like you set 1 foot off of that and you're
Yeah.
like
Yeah. No, no, it's really the only word that comes to mind is draconian.
yeah, I
That's
mean at that point
it's incredibly draconian,
my opinion
and
that's not justifiable.
people were having mental breakdowns, and you can totally understand that.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
your life as a human being is not accustomed to that at all,
Yeah.
right?
Especially if you count in the mental fragility and instability of people in the current day.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people already have problems to deal with, and that will
Yeah.
just exacerbate them.
Yeah.
I was You mentioned that you sometimes watch Abba and Preach, right?
Hmm.
I don't know if you've seen one of their newer ones where they were talking about. Uh, so this wasn't the topic, but they mentioned uh, the repercussions when it comes to mental health when it came to COVID.
Mm.
I
I
think
didn't see.
Joe Rogan also talked about this with
Hmm.
Andrew Schultz.
Okay.
Uh, just basically the rise in suicides
Oh yeah.
during COVID,
Yeah.
which is such a tragic thing.
Yeah.
But on the plus side, there was less automobile fatalities. Win some, you lose some.
It all balances out, see? Always look on the bright side of life. Anyway, so
So that all happened to Serena.
no, thankfully not.
Mm-hmm.
We had been following this. There's Facebook groups with tens of thousands of people who are all experiencing this crap.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're massive groups on Facebook.
And those are just the old people.
Huh? The old people
Those are just the old people.
on Facebook. Yeah. Um, and they've, over the past year, they've been documenting their rooms, stuff not working, dirty, like open the bed sheets and there's just like dirt, dirty bed sheets, like kind of like a weird kind. Serena actually mentioned this to me that she noticed on the second night that the bed sheets had this kind of black
So she's in
dust.
quarantine right now.
Yeah.
Because of, and how long did you say it goes for?
Well, now it's 7 days.
7 days. Okay.
And
at least stop some
they
weeks.
basically, since they brought in a quota system, which is, I believe it's something like 150 a day. So
Quote
that's
of
like
what? Like the maximum people that can.
150 uninjected people per day. It's something like that. But that's
Huh.
like the totality across all uninjected people from overseas coming into the state.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like nothing. That
Yeah.
that number is usually thousands per day.
Yeah.
Like that's usually what it is. So they instituted this quota, I think in a to a large degree because of the shitstorm that was erupting out of the quarantine system that existed prior to there being a quota system.
Mm-hmm.
Where basically these hotels were becoming quarantine facilities, and there was it was horrible. There were people who were losing their minds. There was literally people like filming next door to someone else who was, for example, supposed to be let out, but for some reason wasn't. They were not informed. And they were totally, like, literally losing their shit next door. And the police, the healthcare services, and all this kind of stuff, they're not equipped. They're not even trained to deal with this kind of stuff. You know, these people are not criminals. That's the thing. Like, they're treated like criminals. They're incarcerated for 2 weeks, and with shit food. Even prisoners get to go outside and have a walk around in the courtyard, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so the information was abysmal. The food was abysmal. Quality, like the whole thing was just a complete shitstorm. And so the quota system basically came in because they realized that, like, they had totally mismanaged this entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
And what that did was it shrank down the whole operation to where they only had then a tiny handful of hotels and also a tiny portion of personnel, like healthcare staff, police. That's what they had.
Yeah.
So now the quality seems to be a bit better, and it is only 7 days instead of 14 days. Of course, the fact that the New Zealanders, who have been super heavy-handed as well, completely dropped their quarantining for people coming in uninjected, was kind of like, okay, so now Australia is the only one left doing this total nonsense, honestly.
Mm.
And I say total nonsense because if you look at the statistics regarding the cases, the the cases of people who are coming into the country versus the cases who are local, like local cases versus um, cases from like foreign cases. The vast majority are local cases.
Yeah.
So this anyway.
I mean, it makes sense. People, in order to come into the country, they have to have a travel permit, like a COVID travel permit. So it would make sense that there's far fewer of them that have COVID.
Yeah. So that's the thing too, is you have to have a PCR test,
Yeah.
or now you can do a PCR or a rapid antigen test before flying.
Yeah.
So Serena and I had been trying to sort this out for a long, long time, and had been, I don't know how many dozens of times, been reading the information on the Australian government immigration COVID websites. And, we had read everything dozens of times over. And correlating that with what people were saying on social media, how they did it, and etc. Finally, we narrowed it down to two airlines that we could work with, and that was Etihad and Qatar.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we went back and forth between the two, trying to figure out which one was the more reliable. In the end, we decided to go with Qatar, namely because Etihad were changing their story too much. They would first tell us by email or on the phone that they had so many spaces available for uninjected people on this and this flight, and then when we were ready to book, we'd call them up, and then they'd say, we don't do that.
Hmm.
So we were like, okay, screw this. So then we went down the road with Qatar, and the Qatar representatives, of which I was on the phone with for what was accumulatively hours, were adamant that we did not have to do anything other than what the Australian government said we had to do.
Hmm.
Right? So savvy.
Yeah.
So we looked at what the Australian government said we had to do, and all that was there is what's called a DPD form. You fill that out online. You put in your. So this is one interesting thing. To get this DPD form filled out online, you have to have booked your flight already.
Yeah.
But it's like taking a jump, right? Because you're booking your flight.
You have to book your flight before you even know if you.
Right.
Okay.
So we had to book our flight, and we did that. Qatar Airways said, you book your flight, and then you do whatever the Australian government says, and you're good.
Mm-hmm.
Qatar Airways said they themselves do not have any mandates. They only enforce the mandates of the destination country. Okay?
Fair enough.
Cool. I like that. So we booked the flights, got the DPD form, everything's sorted. We wake up 4:30 in the morning, drive to Zurich, start the check-in process. Okay, we're my wife and my son, who also went uninjected. We present the forms and everything to the staff. The staffer then asks another staffer, who seems to be making a phone call, comes back. Yeah, everything's cool. Everything's good. So we check in, bags are in, go have a little drink, have a little coffee, and then we see them off to the gate, to where you can't, unless you're a traveler, you can't go past. So I thought, I'm gonna stick around, just to make sure. And so went out to the Zurich airport. It has this cool observation deck area.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was closed, but there's an area before you go actually onto the observation deck, which from that area you can already see quite a lot of the runways and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Yep.
And so I was waiting there with the two older kids, and about an hour before boarding, or an hour before takeoff, so they would have been already lining up to board. Serena messages me and says, "This number's been calling me twice. Can you find out who they are?" And it's a mobile number, so I call it up, and it's the guy from the check-in counter, a Swiss guy, and I'm asking like, "Yeah, you tried to call my wife two times," and he's like, "Oh yes, you didn't you didn't mark down in your booking that you are uninjected," and I said, I was I was told 4 or 5 times by Qatar representatives that there was no such thing. That all I had to do
Mm-hmm.
was do what the Australian government said I should do.
Yep.
So he was like, "Okay, it should still be fine. I'm waiting to hear back from border control in border force in Australia."
Yep.
So, okay. Half an hour before the flight's gonna take off, Serena's on the phone. We've been taken off the plane. They actually were on the plane, seated, and
Wow.
the staffer, Qatar Airways staffer, came on super apologetically, very apologetic. Said, I hate doing this. These COVID mandates are ridiculous. They have to end." But yeah, said to her, she has, you know, her and my son have to get off the plane.
Damn.
And so we're, so Serena's telling me this. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna call that Swiss guy right back now and find out what the hell's going on. So I call him up and he says, "Yep, she's not flying today." I said, "Okay, what do I do?" And he said, "Call Qatar Airways immediately. Tell them on the 22nd of March. So this is the 19th of March. 19th of March she was supposed to fly. He says, "Call them up. 22nd of March, there's 4 available spaces for uninjected people.
Mm-hmm.
Book it." And he said, "For free. Just tell them to book it."
Okay.
So
At least.
I get on the phone immediately and say, "Okay, I'm gonna do that." So I get on the phone, Qatar, "Hey, you got 4 slots, da da da." The guy says, "I've got to send an email to head office to get a confirmation of that. Please call 24 hours from now." And I was like, "What?" You know? And he's like, "Don't worry, don't stress." And I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, what? You know? So, needless to say, Serena's waiting another hour to get her baggage finally back off the plane. It's probably sitting somewhere for half an hour before someone's like, "Hey, what's that doing there?" And yeah, it's a pretty shitty feeling. Oh, we did all this, right? And we also paid for 2 PCR tests, which each one is like $100 or whatever. 100,
Yeah.
yeah. So now we're driving home, all of us driving back home. It's just like, what the fuck? And
All in
while
high
I'm
spirits.
yeah, and while I was waiting there on the observation desk area, I caught a chill.
Just a little cherry on top of the
I
cake.
know. And this was just, I could, on the way home, I could feel it coming on. I was like, "Yep, I'm coming down with something." And by the time I got home, I was like, "I'm under."
Shit.
So it was just cherry on top of the cake for a miserable day. Is like, "Here, and now you can be sick. Yay!"
Did you take off work at least?
So finally, after all the dust settled, which was crazy, 24 hours later, we called. Complete fuck up at Qatar Airways again. We can't see the email, blah blah blah. So basically Monday morning on the phone again with Qatar. So this is the 21st. Yes, the 21st.
Mm-hmm.
On the phone again with Qatar Airways multiple times. Really bad VoIP quality. That's the other thing, is like these call centers is like, oh, it's so tough. And
You'd think they'd invest in better hardware if that's like their only thing.
it's, yeah, I don't know. And we're calling and we get the same nonsense we were told earlier. That is, we don't do that stuff. We don't have anything to do with that. And I pushed the person to give me the supervisor. She goes then and comes back like almost 10 minutes later, and all of a sudden she knows everything. So she's gone off.
She went to her supervisor and asked, and probably got the answer.
Yeah. All
Okay.
of a sudden, she's aware, blah, 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 blah. Unfortunately, then the call cuts. I'm like, so I get back on the phone. Of course, I don't get her back, so I have to explain the whole thing all over again.
Does that person know now?
Initially, the guy said, "We don't do this," but then he clicked into gear really fast, and then he got it. He got it.
Yeah.
And what it turned out to be was he was like, "Okay, yes, 22nd, we can rebook." And he's about to do the rebooking, and then he says, "Can you wait 1 second?" Goes off, comes back 10 seconds later. He's like, "The flight leaving on the 22nd is the flight leaving from Doha, Qatar." He's like, "You have to catch the flight today from Zurich to catch that flight." And we're like, when does that leave? And he's like, 3:55 or something. It's like 3 something in the afternoon. And this was like 10:30 in the morning. And we still had to go get another test.
That's actually kind of lucky.
Yeah.
That's kind of lucky. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you guys could just dawdle, but
Well, we had to
very
go get
doable.
another test. I was like feeling sick,
Oh.
and so yeah,
You just go into
it's like
what's that
survival
mode called? Yeah, survival
It's
mode.
just-
But it's not like panic. You're just like, all right, we're just
It's like whatever
you
it
could
takes.
push right through a
Yeah.
mountain at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we grabbed our stuff, got in the car, drove to Bern, did antigen tests, waited out there for 20 minutes for the results, got them printed. We're off to Zurich Airport again, do the whole
Test comes
thing
back
all over
positive.
again. And this time we're there again at the same counter doing the check-in, and there's this Qatar Airways staffer, and she's totally befuddled and keeps asking if we have reserved our quarantine spaces, and we're like, there is no such thing. So she goes off, talks to someone, comes back, and then she's like totally flustered, and she says, "I have no idea what's going on in Australia. I don't know how things work there." And she's like, "It's fine, just go." We're like, okay. So they get on the plane, and I literally watch and film the plane taking off.
Proof.
Oh, so then they had a 21-hour stopover in Doha in the airport.
Mm-hmm.
And then made it to Sydney, and now they're 2 days away from being released from incarceration.
Yeah, I saw on Serena's Insta post that her building was apparently evacuated because they had a fire alarm go off.
So not last night, not last night, but her night before last night.
Yeah.
She calls at 3:30 in the morning, her time. She calls me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this fire alarm going off.
Yeah.
And it's crazy fucking loud. And it's got a male voice saying, "Evacuate, evacuate now." Actually, I posted exactly what the message was. And emergency, emergency, and so on. And it's this thing goes on for a whole half hour, and couple fire engines pull up outside. There's people on the sidewalk, but the thing is that they have been told from the very first day, do not under any circumstances leave your room. So it's a really weird situation. Is the building on fire? Do I need to evacuate? And I told her, call the front desk and ask. She picks up the phone to call, and she just gets like the music. What the fuck? So she starts packing.
Do not under any circumstances evacuate, or no, do not leave your room under any circumstances.
No, do not leave your room. Yeah.
Any circumstances, even if your room is on fire. It's like, I will not infect anyone.
And then finally, I don't know what it was, like 20 minutes into this alarm going off, finally, and this is the thing, like you would think that the information would be a little bit more, like 20 minutes of that fire alarm going off, and then you get this person on the PA system saying, "Do not leave your room." The issue seems to be with an adjacent building, not with this one. So it's like, why the fuck did the alarm go off here then?
So many levels of incompetence.
I know, it's just...
It's like... And on top of it, the people were, stuck in that building for 20 minutes? Having to listen to that?
Yeah.
The ones that didn't go out, did anyone go out?
No one that was in their rooms went out.
What if there was an actual freaking fire?
That's the other question, is like, you wait like 15-20 minutes before you get on the PA system and inform the people.
And that as well, yeah.
That's what I mean. Like,
you're so lucky there's not a crowd of people standing in front of the building after 20 minutes of an alarm going off.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
No, absolutely crazy. Like,
welcome to your home country.
Yeah, welcome.
Welcome back.
Anyway, that's that.
So now I understand why you wanted me to tell you how I was doing first.
See what I mean?
Yeah, it's wild. Well, yeah, hopefully she can enjoy her time there when she is liberated.
She needs some freeing.
Yeah.
Let's go spread some freedom. Australia. Yeah. But in other news...
So...
Oh, my thing closed.
Your ting.
Thing closed. Right.
Yeah, so recently, especially with the conflict in Eastern Europe, we've been getting more into the topic of stockpiling, essentially. I mean, in
But before that, can we do this?
Yeah, sure. Oh my god, the Will Smith thing?
Yes.
Yeah, fuck it.
Can we do it?
Is that the full one?
Yeah,
let's talk about this.
It's not the full one, but it's full.
I had such a long discussion with my friends about this today,
right?
but let's watch this. This does not transmit audio, by the way, so maybe I could pull this up.
Can you do it?
Yeah, can you send me the link? You
You
can set it wherever.
Or you can just...
Yeah, I just randomly saw this.
Actually,
morning.
Serena told me about this. Thanks,
Yeah.
Mooch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't
shout
really
out to-
peruse this side of the internet, do you?
Shout out to Serena. She
Yeah.
wanted me to give her a shout out. All the way in Australia. All right.
This actually turned into a really interesting conversation between me and my friends over chat earlier. Just like the ethics of it.
All right. I sent you the link on GChat.
On what?
Google Chat. Said anywhere.
Well, Google Chat? That's like the last place I look. All right. Google Chat.
You can also just open YouTube. It's like...
Yeah, I saw a bunch on YouTube, but a lot of them had like
commentary.
Talking over.
No,
like,
this is just the raw footage.
All right, so I have to go into Gmail to find this, right? Right? There you go.
Oh my god.
Even the thumbnail, man.
Yeah.
All right. Let's try and get this.
The hardest job tonight, Javier Bardem and his wife are both nominated. Now, if she loses, he can't win. He is praying that Will Smith wins. Like, please, Lord. Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Uh-oh, Richard. Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane jump.
Keep my wife's name mouth!
I'm going to, okay? Okay. That was a greatest night in the history of television. Okay. Okay.
How the hell do you recover from that? It's so awkward.
Can you go back? Yeah, keep going back. Okay, so just
Just
where-
after he
just
makes a joke.
when he starts to make the joke.
Uh-huh.
Praying that Will Smith wins. Like, please, Lord. Jada, I love you. G.I.
Yeah, sure.
Or the keyboard. I just yeah, skip around like this.
Please, Lord. Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right?
So they're both in high spirits here. Her reaction, I think, is pretty telling.
Yeah.
Cause like she didn't like that one. He fucking did though.
Yep.
He liked that joke, and then he probably looked over at her and he's like, "Ah, fuck, I don't want to deal with this at home." I mean, that must have happened quick though, cause he's laughing here, and count the seconds from him laughing to him actually smacking.
That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Uh-oh.
He's already out of his seat here.
So, yeah.
That happened quick.
So when I first saw this, that was the very first thing I picked up on. I'm sure everyone picked that up immediately as well. Is that if we go back again?
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right?
Oh shit.
That Will Smith wins. Like, please, Lord. Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right?
So this joke, maybe for context. So G.I. Jane, let me, I can find an image of this. It's a film.
Yeah. Like G.I. Joe, G.I. Jane.
Yeah, and I think the main character there is like, it's just got like a buzz cut.
Yeah.
Okay. He comes up now. Yeah, okay, so the main character has a buzz cut, and apparently Jada Smith has alopecia.
Yeah.
Right? Which is, I as far as I know, the only symptom of that is literally hair loss.
Yeah.
So, yeah, from that standpoint, I fully understand her reaction. Like, that's a pretty harsh joke.
It's dark humor for sure.
It's definitely dark. So,
Yeah.
like, her reaction, I get. The question comes then into more of Will's reaction.
Well, so that's the thing. Like, that's why I paused it right here. 25 seconds in, right? So that's 25 seconds.
People.
Yeah, because watch this. 25 seconds. He is literally open mouth laughing at this joke.
Yeah.
Okay, 25 seconds.
So is everyone else, by the way.
Exactly. The other lady behind him, immediately to the right and to the left, they're both having a good laugh.
Keep an eye on her, by the way, through the
Yes.
entire thing. Her reaction is great.
The Will Smith's wife here has a smirk, and that's probably a smirk from the previous joke.
Yeah.
And if we're
She's in
just gonna
happy
go
mode.
2 seconds forward, watch her face. Okay.
so overtly like, hell no.
Will Smith is still
He's still giggling. You
open
can hear
mouth.
him.
Yeah, he's still open mouth.
Or maybe that was Chris. But it seems like
it's him. Laughing about this. Another thing is no eye contact yet with his wife.
I wish they could have caught that moment on camera.
So, this is the point. His wife has stopped smiling. She is now past the point, and she is taken offense. However, even the woman to the, as I'm seeing it, to the right of Will Smith, is not making eye contact with the wife either, and she is grinning from ear to ear. So now we're going to skip forward, and
the crowd, he can definitely tell that that was a harsh joke. Like the whole crowd is like, "Oh man."
Some are. It's a mixture of
Yeah,
laughter
but you can
and,
see from his reaction, he can feel that a bit.
Yeah.
Which is,
But that's
you
what
know,
it's meant to be. Also,
yeah.
dark humor.
If y'all have ever seen a Golden Globes,
Yeah, it's not anything that foreign to these
no,
events.
this is quite tame, if anything.
And at some point right now, so let's call the camera before, let's call that camera 1, and this is camera 2, right? So the studio said go to camera 2. Now it's shooting camera 2. So on camera 1,
Interesting stuff is happening.
and it's recorded.
Can we find this?
I'm pretty sure.
I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but I
No,
would
but
be
the point
interesting.
is, you know what's happening in camera 1? Will Smith is suddenly catching the eye of his wife.
Yeah.
And his face is going like this to that.
I think the fact that he laughed at that joke made it so much worse for himself as well.
Yes.
Because he has to kind of overcompensate now.
Yes.
He has to act like he was laughing at the previous joke and it maybe was just so funny he continued laughing.
He's got to fix his fuck up.
Yep.
That's what's got to happen.
Yep.
And when I...
That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Uh-oh, Richard.
So by the time Will Smith is getting up out of his seat and marching up to the stage...
He already knows he's going to smack him.
Will Smith does.
Yeah.
I really had to wonder, like, what is going through the head of Will Smith? The fact that he,
I thought he was just going to go up there. I thought it was just like, going to be a joke, like going up there like, hey, don't talk shit.
Right.
But like he was on a mission.
Well, to me, the fact that he's doing this says to me, it's like this. He realizes when he looks over at his wife, he realizes he fucked up big time, right? He sees her expression. He's like, oh shit. And I've just been caught on camera laughing my head off at the expense of my wife. At the expense of my wife's, medical condition. And now I'm going to get up on my fucking high horse and I'm going to, crusade across this glass floor, and I'm going to run my lance.
Yeah. He's totally white knighting here.
Jordan
just commented, yes, Domina.
And honestly, I see this as Will Smith trying to pay penance for what he did.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so self-righteous and so hypocritical of him.
The fucked up thing is what he did to Chris. Like
that's what I mean.
The fallout from that. Not only did Chris get smacked in the face, but he's literally on stage and has to recoup from that.
Yeah.
As a comedian.
Yeah.
Bruh.
And not just
he did an amazing job, though, I will say.
Yeah. Not just assaulting him, but then walking back to his seat, sitting down, and yelling at him twice.
He could have played off the smack as a joke. Chris would have known it wasn't a joke because he felt it.
Yeah.
But, for the rest of us, you don't even know if it was scripted.
Yeah.
Until after when you see
Will Smith.
Yeah, he's not playing.
Twice yelling that at him. And you have to ask, it's like, hey, Will, dude, you laughed at that shit. You thought it was fucking hilarious until you looked over to your wife.
Yep.
You little hypocritical bitch. Seriously.
Nah, he made a bit of a clown of himself on this one.
I think so. Yeah. And I don't know if it comes from a place of just... I don't know what goes on in the head there of someone. Why would Will Smith feel that he has to do all of that in order to get back in the good graces of his wife? Maybe there's something else going on there that nobody knows about. Who knows? I asked myself...
I mean, she's an intimidating lady.
Okay, I don't know her from Adam, but...
Do you know Adam?
No. Nor do I know Eve.
No, but I mean, she's... I've seen her on I think she's got a podcast type show. and I believe I'm not even going to talk about that because I don't know enough about it. But yeah, I don't think she's a pushover. Put it that way.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I asked myself too, like, if someone had made a black humor joke, a sensitive joke, you know, about Serena, about my wife,
Yeah.
how would I react? I actually don't think. I actually think that if Will Smith had not laughed at the joke at all, if he had paid maybe a little bit more attention to what his wife was thinking and feeling, like instead of just staring at the stage and going, ha 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 ha, ha, like maybe when that joke comes out, before laughing your head off, maybe glance over to your wife, who's the joke is being made about.
Mm.
Had that happened and Will Smith not laughed about it, I think he would have been completely right to get up and maybe not smack him, but at least tell him, hey man, like, please apologize, that was under the belt, right? Something like that. Like, just
I mean, I would not really have had much of an issue with that on a moral standpoint. Like he's defending his wife. You know, if he really thinks it was too far, then yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
But at these places, this is the kind of humor that happens. Like
yeah.
Chris Rock's job here is to bring down the winners a peg.
Right.
Like they do this at the Oscars, they do this at the Golden Globes. Freaking Ricky Gervais, his most infamous monologue at the Golden Globes was him ripping into Hollywood and specific members of it.
Yeah.
And no one went up there. I guess he wasn't really singling out people. Although no, he did.
Oh,
he
he
singled out people
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Joe Pesci and.
But I think this was at the level where you're making a joke about someone's ailment. I think that's
yeah.
ouch.
Yeah.
But
Although I did
nevertheless-
bring up the point of that it's very common for people to be made fun of, like males to be made fun of because of their hairline, like fucking balding.
Yeah, you're
And it's
baldy,
not
yeah.
exactly an ailment. And a friend of mine did bring up the fact that it's more acceptable for men to be bald than women. Like
Yeah.
it's a bigger deal if you're losing
sure,
your hair
yeah,
as a woman.
yeah.
Although I wouldn't say that Jada looks bad.
No.
I guess that's not the most relevant point.
I actually would not have known.
I
like-
wouldn't have either.
I had
I had no idea that she had an issue. Jordan just said, Will decided to smack Chris for making a joke about his wife, but Alzina, who slept with his wife, did nothing but forgave him.
That's above my pay grade.
I didn't hear about that one. Yeah, I heard about some infidelity there. Yeah, maybe she's maybe she really is Domina. Not working.
Anyway,
You know what?
and- oh yeah.
He bitch slapped him.
It's a
You know what?
pretty
He
smack.
came up there like he wasn't exactly like me. Look at him. Look at his head.
He's not even looking at him.
He's
He's looking at the floor.
He's coming up there. You know, not being like super intimidating. He's just like
Yeah.
coming up there. It's kind of out of left field, that one. It's kind of a sucker slap. I mean, the slaps are always sucker slaps. Otherwise, you're gonna block. But you know, it's. Come on, he's not. He's not.
His what's his name? Chris Rock's hands are both behind his back, literally. Not
Yeah, well, I
tied,
mean,
but-
Chris is like saying, "I'm not intimidated by you."
Yeah.
You know.
And he's even Chris Rock is even leaning forward the whole time.
Yeah, he didn't expect him to. He did
No.
not expect to get slapped. I find Will's face here
And
also
his
kind of interesting.
and Will's expression as he
Yeah.
walks away.
he's kind of like grinning a little
Look
bit.
at this.
He doesn't seem that mad.
It's a weird expression, and I was mentioning this to Serena earlier too. And look, skip back just like a second again. He does this thing. There.
Yeah.
See it?
Yeah. But you could totally see that as being a joke. Because he's really animated going back. He's like, yeah, I did that.
It's surreal. I think this whole thing is really surreal.
Is
And I do kind of wonder sometimes if these actors have a difficulty kind of like yeah, just kind of, you know, how can you say, like, where acting and real life sort of get blurred.
Mm.
Like the lines between just sort of get blurred a bit, and you feel like I can basically do whatever the fuck I want.
Apparently he can.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple things happened here. People are not going to make jokes about Jada around him anymore. Unless they want to get smacked as well. And he kind of, in my opinion, he kind of made himself look like a clown here.
Yeah. And apparently later he actually received an award.
Yeah, he did. And then he was crying, and then he was saying like we've been like it's been hard working through this online abuse, you know how it is. So I'm assuming that there is some of a backstory there with people like saying "ha baldy"
Maybe.
to his wife.
Maybe.
So there's probably something back there, but come on, you can't smack Chris for that. Like he's
No.
not responsible for what other people did, and this is literally his job.
Yeah.
It was a tough joke, and another question would have been, what if Jada went up there and did the same thing?
I think that would have been much more legitimate.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
again, Will Smith laughed his freaking head off.
Yeah.
She didn't.
But even if he didn't laugh his head off,
No, that's what I was saying. If he didn't laugh his head off,
you
if
still
he
don't go up there and smack someone.
I would have been a lot more like, "Hey man, you stood up for your wife," kind of thing. Like it's still assault, so you should not do that. But ethically, if someone's gonna make that kind of joke about my wife,
You're gonna smack him?
I probably wouldn't smack him.
Are you going to stab them?
No. But the idea of going over and, punching the guy in the face, or at least saying to him, "Apologize to my wife immediately, you crossed the line." And if he's just like mouthing off and still being an asshole, then, well, I probably still wouldn't actually assault him.
It's just crossing the line when there was just words being spoken, and words, yet they hurt your widow feelings. And it's not like the words are actually gonna like inflict harm upon you other than emotional.
No.
And reverting back just with physical violence, that's what people do who have nothing that they can say.
Yeah. Again, like you were saying earlier, and I agree, I think this is huge overcompensation for something he knows he did wrong.
Yeah, and then afterwards, he goes like, "Take my wife's name out your fucking mouth."
Yeah, and I think it's pretty surreal, and sometimes these guys can get into a place in their head where they don't even know where the line of acting and reality is anymore.
It's hard to know out in the wild how common this is, but he definitely is quite entitled to do this in front of a whole audience.
Yeah, and apparently Chris Rock is not pressing charges.
Yeah, I heard that.
So anyway, I thought Chris Rock, what he said, what did he say? The best television ever.
Ow. Okay.
Look at the chick behind Will.
Yeah.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
Wow,
She's
dude.
like, ooh.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane jump.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
I'm going to.
She seems so fucking unfazed. Like she's obviously not in the same spirit that she was before. Look at all these people.
She's also like still.
If I was sitting next to him, I'd be like, "What the fuck?"
But you know what? I wonder how many people watching this were not sure if this was staged or not. Because a lot of people who were not there also
They were
thought this
silent
was
as hell.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean,
Okay.
whatever you say, man.
Okay.
He's just like, he's somewhere else right now. He's like, what the fuck just happened?
That was a greatest night in the history of television. Okay. Okay.
And actually, he's probably not that wrong. That may go down as one of the best fucking things that's happened in television.
It's definitely one of the best moments of the Oscars I've seen in a while, that's for sure.
Yeah. And one thing about this whole thing is, I don't watch this stuff, like, at all.
I didn't even know there was a thing.
Yeah. But one thing I like about this is how it's sort of... It's cracked open, this thing, right? Because you have all these people there, dressing up in thousands and thousands. You know, each of them is wearing clothes worth thousands of dollars, right? They're just, you know, whatever, $10,000
There's like
suit.
a sweep coming from your chair.
It's rubbing up against there.
Oh,
It's rubbing up against there.
Okay.
I'm just gonna scooch.
Yeah.
This way again. So these people are really like, to me, they are like elitists. They're just the elite. You know, they're rich, they're powerful. But what they remind me of is, you know, those people in the Hunger Games who are watching the Hunger Games.
Mm-hmm.
Not the people in the what do they call them? The districts. Not the district people.
Yeah, but like the aristocrats.
The people, you know, they dress up like Poof does. You know, like fucking, you know, with their all their hairstyles and shit, you know, and they're all sitting there watching this stuff going on. That's what this reminds me of. You know, these elite.
Yeah, so the unhinged
elitists, you know, coming in and doing their little shebang, and everyone, celebrity status, everyone has this image in their head of, oh, these people are just to be idolized. They can do no wrong.
Yeah, the whole concept is very weird.
Yeah, and then you see something like this happen, and you go, these people are fucked up. Like,
yeah, but on different levels. Like Will Smith, he's like in that group of actors and actresses that are just kind of, you don't see them interacting in a human manner very much, and you know, unless they're in films and then they play the part.
Yeah.
But like with a lot of different types, especially with comedians, they're much more down to earth because they have to like actually relay content that people can deal with. And so like Chris here, I feel like he reacted like really composed, but also in a very human way.
Yeah.
He's just like, what the fuck?
You could tell that he was rattled.
Yeah, it's a weird sort of like imbalance there, because like they're both celebrities, they're both big on screen, but they're not from the same pond.
That's the thing for me. Seeing Will Smith do that to Chris Rock is like the entitlement, like the sense that someone like Will Smith could just waltz up and sucker slap.
He literally fucked up the entire Oscars right there, and he said, "I am entitled to screw up the freaking Oscars." This reminds me of when Kanye West went up on stage. I don't remember what this was from, like the Grammys or something. And Taylor Swift won an award that Beyonce was a nominee for, and he went up on stage. He's like, "Beyonce is the greatest musician of all time," when she was like literally getting her award.
Yeah,
it's just like,
yeah,
and of course, you know, Kanye West. We don't need to talk about his mental state, but
maybe
very
this
strange.
Maybe this is an opportunity once more for people to see how fallible these people are. They're not to be idolized. I mean, the fact that Will Smith laughs his head off at something and then pretends that he's suddenly so incensed by it. Ah, fuck off. Anyway. I'm totally for not disrespecting like anybody, but especially the kind of sense that I have, or that I would have, to someone disrespecting my wife.
But what if it was like, it's not disrespect. I mean, it is a form of disrespect. Like what Chris did was obviously disrespectful, but it was also not done in a way that was meant to hurt her.
This is true.
It wasn't done in a malicious way.
And
it was done for her to laugh. She was supposed to laugh at that. Yeah. Or, you know, at least take it on the chin. Like, fuck you, okay.
It was a very risque
kind of
humor.
Yeah. This happens all the time. I mean, freaking... what's his face? Ricky Gervais said to... what's that one director's name? Starts with an S.
Spielberg.
Nah.
Shit.
This is a smaller guy, but he was basically like comparing him. He was like saying, why are you like around like theme parks where there's a bunch of kids? You're too small to go on the ride. Like, and the guy just like, he just laughs it off. He's like, yeah.
So he's
I'm too
making
small.
fun. Is he a dwarf?
He's a shorter guy.
Okay.
He's not a dwarf.
Right.
And he's also like insinuating that he's a pedophile.
Yeah.
You know, it's like in the classic Ricky Gervais, but you know, it's of course when he was talking about Apple engaging in slave labor, yeah, then of course Tim Cook can't really laugh at that, can he?
Oh man. All
Yeah,
right.
dumb.
You want to launch us into then the other topic,
Oh, normally we do a break.
or we can do an intermission and come back in 5.
Yeah, let's take 5. All right. See you after the break. You hear that? It's like
Oh yeah. Oh.
hello. Okay. I
I
don't
can
know why.
still hear it.
Do you? No, it's not there anymore. You're inventing
Very
stuff.
fine.
Maybe it's coming from you.
No. There, see?
No. Yeah, but that's just normal. It's always been there.
Okay.
All right, we're getting into food and stockpiling. What are we gonna do first? I see you already
Well,
got stockpiling.
so generally the topic of having any kind of survival pantry or yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Why would you have one?
so to me, like especially in recent times where we've seen what's happening in Eastern Europe, and you see what's happening with all of the fallout from that economically and with inflation and whatnot, that does give you rise for concern. Like, you know, if there were to be like a severe economic issue coming from this, especially for where we're standing now in Russia, it's already a bit of a past participle there. But yeah, you want to be prepared to at least sustain yourself in the most basic of ways. And that just the thought of that kind of, I think, gives you an opportunity to look at it a bit broadly. Like in the past, it was pretty self-explanatory. Like people would just stock. Oh, hello. I was wondering, it looked a little bit empty there. Yeah, like people would have stocks of foods just automatically. That was just a normal thing. And now it's pretty normal to have your fridge basically empty. You know, you just have enough for the week, and you know, you're good. But when you actually think for a second, if the store was closed for a month, how screwed would I be? Answer is probably extremely. If you don't have a stockpile. And that also makes you wonder, stockpiling has never been easier than it is now. You have everything you need for relatively cheap. So yeah, when I thought about it like that, I thought, yeah, should just basically, you know, tick this box and I don't have to think about it too much anymore. Yeah.
I think the first time that I really took having a survival pantry seriously was early on. When was it? It was like in the first half of the year 2020.
Yeah.
Because we had this, you know, pandemic. And because of this pandemic, there were supply chain issues. And people started bulk buying, or some people say panic buying. And we had these crazy images from around the world of like shop shelves, grocery store shelves that used to be full, being empty, people fighting literally over toilet paper.
That was the first time I've experienced that firsthand. Right. That was pretty crazy.
Things you would never think of, like, oh, there's a shortage of toilet paper. You'd think that's coming from the Babylon Bee or something, right? It's
also just like in a crisis, you don't think toilet paper is going to be the issue. You think food.
Yeah.
Toilet paper
but
and
toilet
hand
paper
sanitizer.
is actually, like...
Yeah, it's important. I mean, no, let's be honest. There's way more important stuff. Like,
water.
In Western culture, we're pretty used to using toilet paper, but it's not the case everywhere.
Yeah, but you wouldn't want to have to do that stuff with like newspaper or something. So
you just
okay. Anyway, so yeah, that was the first time that I really started thinking seriously about it, and we actually did a bit of panic buying ourselves. And the thing was that by the time we got around to doing what we thought was our hamster buying, the shelves were already creepily empty. I mean, I remember I couldn't believe it. We would go and get hand soap. Gone.
Yep.
All of it gone. Hand soap. Tissues.
That just shows the level of panic. Because toilet paper, yeah, I get it. Like, if you're without toilet paper, then ugh.
Yeah.
But, like, hand soap?
Yeah, but this is the thing.
Like, yeah, you don't want to run out, but it's like...
Everyone was also told, wash your hands, wash your hands.
That's the thing. Like, people were looking at it as literally, like, a survival instrument. Frickin' hand soap.
They were probably drinking the stuff.
Hopefully. It's the last time you'll be emptying my store.
Yeah. So that was the first time. Then after that, things calmed down. But I must say that since then, the supply chain has never recovered. Not fully. Throughout the last 12 to 18 months, I have repeatedly seen stuff that was never in shortage before. Just randomly, all of a sudden, it's like, where's the sugar? Or where's the... Okay, this one's like not as important, but green Thai curry paste. It's still
For real?
gone.
Wow. I think that isn't so much a problem with the supply chain now. I think it's more deliberate, actually. Because I think COVID showed the stores that they can get away with providing less.
Variety.
Not less variety, but less amounts. Like they don't have to be so consistent that they have everything all the time.
So it's made them slack off.
Well,
And
they've seen they can get away with it.
they can get away with it.
Yeah. Especially, if they do it all at once, then it's like, haha.
Yeah, and that means
Yeah.
more profit for them, because the thing about keeping inventory is you're always going to end up with inventory that you didn't need. But
Yep.
you have to, you have to kind of estimate how much you're going to sell and then have some surplus in case, right? And like you're saying, if this is the case, then stores have basically figured out that they can keep that surplus, that threshold, much lower.
Yeah, exactly.
And everyone's still going to be okay with it.
Yeah.
So that's possible that that's the case, but it's also just the case that there are things that more and more randomly just disappear for like 2 months. Like, what was the other thing? Toilet wipes. Toilet wipes. An entire...
What, like wet wipes?
Huh?
Like wet wipes?
Yeah, but for using at the, going toilet.
You can't.
What?
They say that, but you can't. You can't flush that stuff.
No, they're not wet wipes. They're toilet wipes. They're specifically made to be flushed.
Yeah, but you still can't do it.
Of course you can.
They're made to do that,
Yeah.
but they still fuck up the sewage system.
Anyway.
Like, they write it on there, flushable. Yeah, you can flush it, it just won't get far.
I don't know. I mean, it's supposed to disintegrate.
I don't know how willing you are to have a clog in your...
I mean, we've been using them, like...
Alright.
And we haven't had a clog. So I'll let you know when that happens.
I guess the standard in Switzerland is pretty good quality, but...
I think so.
If you're in the US, man...
But there's like the main brand of these toilet wipes in Migros.
Yeah.
Were gone for months. Just gone. And then there was this other brand that appeared, but it was only like 1 or 2 varieties, whereas this other brand had like 5 varieties. And this other one was almost twice as expensive. So there's stuff like that, just weird shit like that, where you just see stuff just gone. And it's definitely improved, but it's not come back, as good as it was before 2020, before the pandemic. So and then on top of that, we had the situation, like you said, in Ukraine and Russia, and we had, rising fuel prices because of that. We had rising energy prices. We had rising wheat prices. And there's also something that I've heard of. Now, someone can fact check me on this. I heard that Russia is a huge producer and exporter of fertilizer to the West. And that basically the West has enough fertilizer for spring crop and some summer crop. But that essentially going from the summer crop to the autumn crop, that's where the risk is going to start coming in.
Yeah.
And without this fertilizer, you can still plant, but your yield is going to be lower. And this could result in food shortages and thereby increase, again, massively the prices of food.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff going on right now that says the modern supply chain is it's an incredible mechanism when it works.
Mm.
And that's the thing. It turns out that this supply chain is incredibly fragile.
Yeah, yeah. You saw that with the Evergreen incident. That shipping vessel that was stuck in the what was it, the Panama Canal?
I don't know about this one.
That literally stopped all shipping through the Panama Canal for like a week.
Okay.
I mean, of course, that's like a pretty. If we can get an image up here,
Did it break down?
I think someone just steered it into the side.
Maybe go to news. What?
I don't think that that's
Stuck
actually
in
a
Suez
real.
Canal.
Oh, the Suez Canal. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Holy crap.
Meme. Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
It was just stuck like that for like I don't even remember how long, but like every day it was costing millions of dollars because there was just like
billions. Yeah.
a line of ships that were just waiting to get through.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like look at that. It's not even that wide, and the amount
Yeah.
of like if just this one thing stops working, everything just goes.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is to think about all the spoilable things that
Yeah.
we're trying to get shipped.
Yeah.
The amount.
And the Suez Canal is also in a pretty volatile geographical place in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
So, can you pull up where the Suez Canal is? Show people what we mean by that. With the dollar sign out. That's
Yeah,
really
because the
good.
dollar thing's right next to
No, but it's perks.
dollar.
They're gonna show that.
So we've got
look
it.
at that. Right between. Well, it's actually Egypt on both sides, isn't it? It looks.
Oh, that's a
ooh.
great picture. Should I open this in maps? I've got something better.
I think it's Egypt on both sides, isn't it? think-
Yeah, you got Egypt here and Gaza. Yeah, Gaza's in Egypt.
Yeah. No, Gaza is in.
Is it not?
No, it's the Palestinian territory.
Ah,
But that's the border there, that white line.
is that it? Okay.
Yeah. So the Suez Canal. So it's on on both sides of the Suez Canal is Egypt, and yeah, nothing ever bad goes on there.
No, I've heard of them in a while.
I mean, they
It's crazy how thin it is as well. I mean, you could see from the ship. It's
Yeah.
it's really not a thick canal anyway. Yeah. Oh, oops. We're here. We're here. I promise. Bye.
yeah
Yeah. No. It's. You're right. It's very fragile.
yeah, and we're seeing this as well with electronics.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
It's still going on.
Yeah,
The shortage of silicon.
yeah.
It's it's slowly recovering, but it.
I haven't been able. I mean, maybe on some things, but like I make purchases quite regularly on a certain brand of laptop, and
Oh, you were mentioning an airline earlier, but now you won't mention the brand of laptop.
I guess I could mention it.
I mean, unless you want to do promo, unless we need to get paid for us to say their name.
I don't care.
We're doing
ThinkPads.
huge promo to the two people
Yeah.
watching.
Or not. I don't know. Maybe we're doing them a disfavor by mentioning them.
Depends what you say about them.
Right. So, ThinkPads, Lenovo ThinkPads, formerly IBM ThinkPads. Yes. Well,
Yeah.
those. Yeah. I purchase a handful of them or so every year, and I noticed that their selection of available models, and for example, it used to be the case that you could customize pretty much any model of ThinkPad. That's basically gone.
Really?
Yeah. The CTO, custom to order feature,
Mm-hmm.
is basically gone. Now it's pretty much pre-built spec.
Do you think they just did that for like streamlining reasons?
Yeah. It's just too
Or
much.
is it because of a lack of parts? Did they just do
I-
that for logistics, do you think? Or
No, I think it's both, and both work together, because if you can streamline the stuff, then you know ahead of time what you need to order.
sure.
In a volatile supply chain situation, where you lose agility
Hmm.
in being able to make, okay, we need a bit more of that, we need less of this, and so on. Now the custom to order feature is completely gone. The selection of different models within the same series has also shrunk. So there's just a lot of contraction going on.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen that let up at all.
We haven't seen that yet, really, when it comes to food. Right now, we still
Yeah.
have pretty much everything we need when it comes to food, but like you said, that is subject to change, or at least it's not unthinkable.
Well, the thing there is that it can change so quickly.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I remember another thing about energy, which some people may not realize. Switzerland depends on the Rhine River for its supply of oil-based, like crude oil-based fuels. And a few years ago, we had a really hot summer, and the level of the Rhine fell to such a level that the tankers that would bring the fuel could only carry like half the amount that they normally would. And what that meant was there was less. There was less available, so the price of fuel rose. And of course, the price of fuel or energy rises, there's a ripple effect, and you have everything going up a bit. So there's all of this stuff is really great as long as it works. And people don't realize, I think, a lot of the time, just how fragile, just being able to flip a switch, have your lights come on, bing,
Yeah.
run to the shop anytime you want to get anything. Like, all of that stuff is really... And another thing is, all over the... Like, that's what we are accustomed to. And as soon as you go to, like... I think it's pretty much the majority of the world.
Yeah.
Reliance
definitely.
on electricity, it's like... not so much, and being able to go to the store anytime you want to get anything you want, and so on. So,
And largely being able to afford it.
yeah.
Yeah, really having easy access and consistent access to all of these, what worldwide would be considered luxuries, at least to the level that we have it. Even having the thought of this might not necessarily always be there also makes you think, I shouldn't have to have it in order to literally exist.
Yeah.
It just even if it would never go away, I would feel like more of a complete human knowing that I don't necessarily need to have power running through the house in order to not freeze to death.
Yeah.
Like, and so not even just coming down to stockpiling, but also kind of knowing, okay, how would I solve this problem if I didn't have this resource? That also ties into it a lot. Yeah.
What if your water stopped running?
Exactly. I mean, you can stockpile water, but at the end of the day, you also want to kind of... I mean, in Switzerland, the question is quite easily answered because we have unending water supplies coming from the mountains.
Pretty much.
So you're never going to really, like, die of thirst.
It's not so much thirst, it's more sanitation.
Even that, though.
But if you don't have water in your toilet to flush, you're gonna...
The water is but you can get it.
How?
What? To flush with?
Yeah.
Just bucket.
From where?
From any brook or from a fountain.
There's not that many.
There's not that many, but there's enough.
And you think, like, if that happens, there's like one or two fountains.
I'm not saying it's doable everywhere. Like, sometimes you literally don't live close enough to like a fountain.
No, but like right
then
here.
you're figure it out yourself.
If the water stopped pumping through the tubes.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have you would have in this town we have a couple fountains,
Mm-hmm.
and those are only on when it's not under 0 degrees, because otherwise the pipes would freeze and crack.
Yeah, in winter it's a little bit more of an issue. They always have running water in winter.
But the point is,
places.
even if you had water coming out of those natural springs, you know how many people are gonna be
Yeah, sure.
fighting over that.
But my
trickle.
point is, you're not gonna like die of thirst. Like when you're talking about
I'm not
flushing,
saying die
okay,
of
that's like the
thirst.
last thing you need water for is to flush.
What are you gonna do, man? Anyways,
You
we don't
shit
need
out the window, or all I care.
No.
You're gonna survive that.
No. Okay, we're not gonna do toilet talk. But it is one of those things that becomes very serious very quickly.
Yeah.
When you have people living literally above and below you, no water, what is everyone doing?
It's their business.
Yeah, it might become your business. So,
What do you mean by that? Wait, they're gonna come down and like grab your water?
no, I'm just saying, like, if people don't have resource and they know you do, or if people don't have
that's another
resource
thing.
and they don't care to be as sanitary as you care to be, the jungle is a crazy place. The concrete jungle, that is. You know? Anyway,
We're
let
going
me
full,
share this because
apocalypse
this is
mode, let's
interesting.
go.
I was looking at stockpiling and stuff, and I came across this. Whoops, is my thing not running?
No, it's me.
Oh, there.
There you go.
I came across this document by the Swiss government. It's, as it says, it's a report on strategic stockpiling. This is the most recent one I could find for 2015. And the reason I thought this was interesting was because it has... where is it? There's a lot of information in here. But one of the things it has... I wonder if I can skip directly to it. I think it's this one. Compulsory stock organizations. Yeah. So apparently this is what they are supposed to keep in stock.
Mm-hmm.
Says below is a list of the food items for which stocks must be held alongside the demand coverage required by the federal government.
For what exactly?
This is stockpiling. The Swiss government is supposed to stockpile. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see they're stockpiling sugar for 3 months. And then they have holdings of, almost 70,000 tons. And just going down this list, you just see, like, what they're actually stockpiling and for how long. Soft wheat, energy-rich foodstuffs, protein-rich foodstuffs. So, 2 months of that stuff. Then they have fertilizers, nitrogen fertilizers, pure nitrogen.
I just want to mention that I love the fact that foodstuffs is like an official term.
Sorry, feedstuffs. I'm reading foodstuffs. Feedstuffs.
Potato.
Maybe I don't know if that's for people or for animals.
I think it's animals because feed.
Could be.
I hope they're not addressing us when they say we have feed for you.
Feedstuffs. There. Good. Raw materials for yeast production. Interesting. 1 month worth of that. Cooking salt, 4,000 tons.
Mm-hmm.
Seeds. Nothing.
Okay, so yeah, you also you shared like a website where they just had like a basic list of stockpiling for 2 people for 28 days, right?
Ah,
Yeah.
so that's something else we can look at.
Yeah. So that had a pretty good mix of the stuff. I thought I made a mistake, and for anyone watching that is interested in also doing stockpiling, let me say it's not worth counting calories. I did this literally for like 5 hours. I was researching calories, like how much you need, how much different food groups have. Mm-hmm. And I came up with like 3 different like lists of like foods to stockpile, and I always came up with super unrealistic ratios, like twice as much meat to rice,
Yeah.
something like this. Um, I also was under the assumption that meat has more energy in it than like rice does, which is for some reason not the case. I always thought that meat was like the most energy dense food.
No.
It ain't. Maybe I don't know. I think that's probably common knowledge, but I didn't know that.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, counting calories even after knowing that, I still came up with just weird stuff.
Yeah.
It's for some food mixes it made sense and for others it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So just having like what you did, where you basically took the amount of food that you know you guys eat,
Mm-hmm.
and you just basically said, okay, so we would need this much then for this amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's a little bit more difficult because I don't buy all the food in the house.
Yeah, I understand that. But you also don't eat meat for its energy properties. In order, like your body needs carbs.
Mm-hmm.
It needs carbohydrates. It needs sugars to produce energy. But
Yeah.
the problem, at least in my opinion, with the modern diet is that there are what are called, I don't know what they're technically called, but I call them cheap cheap carbohydrates and then expensive carbohydrates. And that works both ways in that cheap meaning low quality, expensive meaning
Processed.
high quality.
Like processed.
Yeah, cheap meaning like it also costs less, but that's the stuff that is highly processed. So that's stuff like white rice, white pasta, white bread, all that kind of stuff. That's really highly processed. You know, the kernel of wheat has been not only the husk, which is you don't want to have to eat the husk because that's
It's got
or the shell.
Yeah, it's got nothing good for you.
Right. But below that is layers of, you could say, flesh,
Yeah.
which are brown or not white.
Mm.
And basically all of that is shaved off. And then what's left is basically 100% starch.
Yeah.
And that is then what goes into producing, you know, the white pasta, the white bread, and so on.
Yeah.
And you miss out on, so basically what you're eating is just starch. It just basically gets taken into your body and is treated like sugar.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that your body your body digests that, or what's the word, processes that really fast,
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
too fast, much faster than it should.
You literally get like a sugar flash from. I do at least. I convert. I digest food very quickly.
Yeah.
So like if I have simple starches, it's basically like taking a spoonful full of sugar for me.
Right.
And yeah, sugar crash galore.
Yeah. And if you were to eat like whole grain rice, whole grain, or like pasta that's made from whole grain, bread that is whole grain, it would take your body longer to process that. And also when you eat that kind of stuff, like white rice versus brown rice, you will feel with brown rice you will feel fuller quicker.
Yeah.
Eating less,
Yeah.
you will feel fuller because your stomach is saying, "Ooh, I can't work this out fast enough. I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm busy. You know, the queue is full."
Yeah.
And that's something that that I changed in my diet now since about a month. Is I basically have not eaten bread at all for about a month. The only time I ate one pack of pumpernickel, like Roggenbrot,
Yeah.
which is the really dense. It's almost not bread. It's more like seed, flat
Compacted
stuff.
seed.
Yeah. And then what I trade off is I get whole grain whole grain crackers. And that's what I'll have like a piece of cheese on or something like that.
Yeah.
And then no more white pasta. So all the pasta that we have is full grain pasta
Mhm.
and full grain and brown rice. Well, you can get red rice, brown rice, and black rice.
Mhm.
And we've had all three, and yeah, it's different. It's definitely different.
Yeah.
But it feels much more wholesome. And the other thing we did was bring down the vegetables. So we basically increased the meat intake. So usually what our plates looked like, if you had a dinner plate, it was something like, I don't know, 50-60% starch.
Mhm.
And then maybe like 30% vegetable, or 20 to 30% vegetable, and then the rest would be meat. It was something like that.
Yeah.
And now what it is about 60% meat, as high a meat content as possible, and then the starch, but the starch has changed. So it's not this cheap starch, it's now the high quality expensive starch, but a lower amount, a smaller amount,
Mhm.
and then maybe a little bit of vegetable. So this has now been my diet for about a month. And the one thing I noticed is, since doing this, I have much less bloating. Like, I used to feel after eating like a lot of broccoli, or stuff like that, like beans or broccoli, like
Mhm.
green beans. I used to feel bloated and like, just.
Well, it's relatively common, isn't it? Like these types of vegetables
I think so, yeah.
and legumes. But there are also other types of vegetables that don't do that as much or tend not to, no?
The only one that doesn't really do it to me is zucchini. And it seems to be a common thread that people who eat a lot of vegetable, they also have a lot of like gaseous, bloatiness kind of stuff going on.
Mhm.
If they eat fresh vegetables like lettuce and cucumber and stuff, they don't have that as much. However, the problem with those vegetables is they're almost entirely water. So
Yeah, the vegetables
the
are there for the fiber and for the nutrients, right? You're not eating vegetables for sustenance.
yeah, but that's the thing with lettuce, like lettuce and cucumber. Like lettuce has practically nothing.
It's just fiber.
It's not fiber. It's nothing. It's like there's nothing in it. Your digestive system just treats that like, ooh, goodbye. There's barely anything in it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a very finicky digestive system.
Yeah.
I mean, not digestive system, but like my blood sugar goes all over the place, and salad is a really good thing for me.
Yeah.
I can't speak for most people because I'm kind of unique in that way, but definitely vegetables are very useful for me to regulating my blood sugar.
That's good. Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting because what you're saying about increasing the meat, decreasing carbs and veggies,
Yeah.
that's like the exact opposite of what I'm trying to do.
Right.
And you hear this all the time, right? Like people that have like I don't know what the different diets are called, like the paleo diet. What is that? I don't know.
I don't know what
You've
that
got
is.
like the carnivore diet, right? Which
Yeah.
is what Jordan Peterson was doing and whatnot, just basically eating just meat. And then you have
Yeah.
people that go completely meatless as well, and I
Yeah.
swear they both swear by it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm wondering at this point is like how much of that is mental,
Yeah.
and how much of that is biological, how much of that could be trained. It's very weird. I don't think there's definitely not a one fits all. I'm
No.
just wondering if is there a one fits most.
I think the omnivorous diet is definitely the one that fits most.
Mm-hmm.
But the omnivorous diet, which is what I'm doing,
Yeah.
I'm still eating everything, but I've changed the amounts and I've changed the quality.
So what was the motivation to increasing the meat aspect, and what kind of meat are you eating now?
Oh, what? Okay, the motivation was, like I was saying, I love my salads. Like I will make these awesome salads.
Yeah.
Like literally a whole massive bowl just of salad with like avocado and olives, and man, I love making my big salads. The problem with the salads is really the fact that it doesn't sustain me. It's like
Yeah.
I eat it, I love it, I feel full, and then an hour later I'm like, oh, I'm hungry, I'm starving. And then what happens is I end up going in the kitchen, you know, like usually that's dinner, and then I go in the kitchen later and I'm like snacking on stuff and stuff. And it's all, whenever you're snacking, you're usually snacking on stuff that is not really that healthy, because it's like it's snack food. It's like what's laying around kind of thing. And that was the problem with for me. I didn't like it. At the end of the day, I was like, it's not sustaining me. And I started to kind of look into this, like what kind of foods sustain people. And the first thing that came up was, okay, the white stuff, the high processed flour stuff.
Yeah.
Get away from that. That stuff is actually really bad stuff. Really bad.
Yeah.
Like there's practically zero nutritional value in it other than carbohydrates. And it's cheap. It's not,
basically sugar at that point.
It's basically starch, like starch sugar. It's really junk food, actually.
Yeah.
And so that's the one thing that came up. And then the next thing that came up was this thing about eating more meat. And the problem here in Switzerland, of course, is that meat is quite expensive. But the thing is, if you take down your carbs and you increase your meat, and you know how to shop for meat, then it's pretty good. And the thing is that after eating a plate where 70% of the plate is meat, like, I'm good. And I'm satiated, and I'm like, I don't feel bad. I feel good. It feels tight. It feels like my body's busy working through the meat, and it sustains me for much longer. So,
that is an interesting thing about the meat, right? Because you don't eat meat for the not for sustenance, not for energy.
It depends. It
does give you energy, but not as much as carbs.
It depends how much fat you're eating. So you need to. This is the thing. Eating meat doesn't just mean going and getting these lean pieces of chicken breast or something like that, because that's really just. I mean, it's meat. It's gonna do all the good things that chicken does for you, but without any fat in there, the fat is really a part that helps your digestive system really make the most out of the meat, to get as much out of the meat as possible. And the fat is also energy. So when you go and get a pork steak, get it with all the white. Get a marble steak. Don't get just a piece of red thing, because the fat is really important.
That's interesting. Because for me, generally, dairy fat does much more for me than like meat fat. Bacon, like, because I have such an issue with my blood sugar, I tried eating bacon because I thought, like, you got the meat and you got a lot of fat there.
That's a lot of fat.
Yeah. And my blood sugar just went chunk after. It just dipped. And it's very weird to me, because I thought that like fat was supposed to keep you sustained. But like literally 20 minutes after.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't say the fat helps you be sustained, but the meat is gonna, your body takes longer to get itself through the meat, but also again those high quality grains. It takes the body time to assimilate that into the bloodstream and to take it in.
So it's like in tandem with other things that it works better.
I think so, yeah. But I'm definitely not saying like you said. There's no such thing as one size fits all. And I think that's what everyone needs to bear in mind is, for some people, it's going to be the lion diet. Actually, the lion diet is even more extreme than the carnivore diet. And that's the lion diet is what Mikhail Peterson and her parents were.
Just red meat, right?
Not only just that, but it's really just that. Whereas the carnivore diet, there's still some other things you can have alongside. It's not meat only. And yeah. So what kind of meat do we have? Basically, when I eat now, like for example, if I'm gonna have a breakfast, what I do is I have eggs, and I have corned beef, and I have cheese, and I have butter, and that's what I'm eating.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like eating 3 or 4 eggs. I'm eating butter. I'm eating cheese and corned beef. Corned beef, I actually really like it.
Yeah, I've never tried it.
I fry my eggs, and then just before the eggs are done, I put a slice of corned beef in the pan and just flip it over a couple times,
Yeah.
and I like that.
Oh,
So it's like,
I thought it smells a little bit like tuna, like canned tuna.
it does have that kind of,
I thought that canned tuna smelled like that because it was tuna, but I'm guessing that it's just
maybe it's
the
the can smell.
yeah. Blew my mind.
That's the thing about tuna, though, as well. People have to be careful with that because tuna is super lean.
What if you get it with the oil in it? Helps no.
But that again, that oil is cheap. That is not high
Yeah.
quality fat. That's just oil.
I mean, yeah, it's not
It's highly processed stuff again.
true. So you've got the list here.
So this is what Vincent was talking about earlier. This is actually provided by the German government. Basically, you put in. Sorry.
Mhm.
Also, my throat is so dry. Talking. You put in the number of people. You put in how long you're looking to make a emergency pantry. And then it gives you this list, and I can just translate it quickly into English, maybe, yes. And this is, so basically how this works is it has the food group, so grain products, bread, potatoes, etc. And then it's got a total amount of that food group that you should have on hand for 28 days for 2 people. And this is based on this average daily energy intake of 2,200 kilocalories, kcal. And then it gives you examples. And these examples are just, for an example, if you wanted to break down 19.6 kilos of grain products, bread, potatoes, etc., basically starches, this is how you could do it. And it gives you, again, how many calories you can expect to have per 100 gram of that kind of food. But basically, in some households, people are going to say, well, we don't really need, for example, 3 kilos of oats, right? Or
Yeah.
maybe having 4 kilos of potatoes, I'm going to compensate that with something else. So, for example, I compensated with rösti.
Yeah.
And I got 10 kilos of rösti instead of, well, here, 4 kilos of potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just an estimate. It's just to get you started, but it is actually very useful to get an idea of what you need for a certain amount of days, for a certain number of people.
Yeah. And I found even when I was trying to make my independent list, surprisingly, almost everything I had in my own list came up in here. So there are some things in here like asparagus and glasses. I'm not a big fan of that. Beetroot, yeah, if you like beetroot, I'm not the biggest fan of beetroot. Yeah, just sort of taking out the things, like you said, that you don't think really works for you, and then compensating with the other things in here.
Yeah.
I did find their food groups kind of interesting because vegetables and root crops had what I would consider protein sources in it, and I would put that in its own group.
What there has...
Well, they had beans.
Yeah, but
beans I wouldn't consider to...
It is a vegetable.
It's a vegetable, but I wouldn't eat beans to get my greens,
Okay, wait.
I eat beans because of the protein they provide.
These are green beans. Are you thinking of kidney beans? That was the thing.
Yes. This was such an issue for me because right on the far right here. Oh yeah, now it's coming back to me. On the far right here, they have the calorie per 100 grams. And for context, normally there's around 100 calories per 100 grams. Depending on whether they're cooked or not, it can be around 70 or something. But when I saw 16 here, I thought, what the hell? Like, what kidney bean has 16 calories per 100 grams? Yeah, and apparently those are green beans, so... Yeah, that being said, but then they don't even have like they don't have kidney beans on this list.
No.
They don't
They don't.
have like actual beans, which is kind of a shame. Because that to me is like the classic canned protein source. Canned beans. Seriously, you even just look up like emergency pantry. You'll just see cans of beans there. It's just the classic pantry thing.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
to me at least.
Wouldn't have like canned fish, or
Canned fish too. But like,
no, it's true. It's true though.
you know, if you're not going meat, then what are you gonna do? Canned beans.
But that might be a bit more of like a UK or American thing, rather
It's a
than
meat
a
thing. I don't
European.
care what it is.
Yeah, it's probably not very European.
Maybe not. No.
Like canned beans is definitely British, and it's a Commonwealth thing.
It's good stuff though.
Yeah. Well, you can deal with the aftermath.
I literally have not ever had a problem with that. I'm
Really?
a lucky chap, I guess.
Yeah, you are.
There's no math.
So this is an easy way to get started, definitely with a pantry, and one very important point about making an emergency pantry is it has to be rotated.
That's the tough thing. Yeah.
So a lot of people think, yeah, I just get this stuff, throw it in a cupboard somewhere, and I'm off to the races. Point is that all of this stuff that you buy is going to have a use by date. Now, of course, that use by date, take with a grain of salt, it probably lasts a bit longer. But you still want to have some of that stuff being used over time so that you're putting fresh stuff at the back.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is also like a nice thing. You can look at the necessity to rotate stuff out of there to be like, oh, that's tiring. But you can also be really nice, like on a weekend when you're like, oh damn, I don't have this stuff in the pantry. It's in the basement.
Yeah.
You have endless amounts of certain food groups, pretty much. Like you're not going to run out anytime soon.
Yeah. And that's one way to do it, is to use your emergency pantry as your own little grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, when you go shopping, what you're doing is for example,
You're like backfeeding,
yeah,
and then you just take from the
you
front.
need pasta.
Yeah.
You go get a pack of pasta, but instead of taking it home, like into your kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
you bring it to your pantry, your emergency pantry, and you put it at the back, and you take one from the front.
Yeah.
And that's gonna keep your stuff in rotation.
Although there are things that live down wherever you're keeping your stockpile that may be mainly appropriate for like in an emergency situation, like if you're storing whole beans, like you say, like some people will cook whole beans more than others, but for a lot of people they would just get
the dried stuff.
yeah, they would just get canned beans because
Yeah.
it's so much less work. And
Then again,
yeah.
an air sealed plastic with dry beans inside.
That'll last a
that'll
long
last,
time.
I would say at least 10 years. I mean,
Okay, so
what's it
maybe
gonna
beans
do?
are a bad example, but there are definitely foods. Like you eat corned beef. I have corned beef in our stockpile, but I don't eat corned beef.
Right.
I don't know how long it lasts. Long enough, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was like 3 years,
Yeah.
2-3 years.
The container looks like it's been through like a couple world wars.
Yeah.
That thing is ancient.
Yeah. But you could definitely, like, I don't have corned beef every single day, obviously, but I try to open a can a week.
Is it healthy?
I don't know.
I don't. What kind of beef is it?
I don't know.
Is that just basically like bologna, preserved bologna?
No, I don't think so.
I think it's better. Hey, people fry bologna as well. Yeah. So if you're looking to fill up your own stockpile, I mean, having something is better than nothing, definitely. Like you don't need to necessarily stockpile for 3-4 months. I know we didn't. But just like having something for at least 2 weeks, just so you can get your bearings, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also comes the aspect, okay, if shit really like stops functioning, like there's zero supply chain anymore, then you have to get into the discussion of, all right, so we have to start producing our own food.
Yeah.
Luckily in Switzerland we have relatively good resources to do that. In comparison to other countries, definitely. Like, we have green space that we can use.
I mean, we are lucky to have what we have, but
In a big city, it's not going to be the same, but they always have, like...
Most people, though, don't have any place to grow food.
Gardens. I mean, the soil isn't the best, but...
They don't have those. They live in apartments.
Yeah, but you can always... Like, you're always close-ish to places that have soil. Put it that way.
Yeah, but not yours.
Yeah, but if we're talking about a time where, like, literally people cannot...
Right.
Like, if...
So you could dig up the grass, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure people wouldn't be like, that's my lawn, you know, and, like, no one's having food.
And no one's going to give a flip. Right?
Yeah.
And then be like, fuck your grass.
Yeah. We park my
That's
cow
true.
on your grass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thing about growing food is, number one, not many people know how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And number two, even if you know how to grow something, figuring out the, how can you call it, the economics, or I don't know what to call it exactly.
Logistics?
Like, the logistics of what to do with the harvest. That's another
You have
thing.
to kind of preserve it.
That's the thing. Either you have to be growing stuff in kind of an interval, right? So you have to know, like, okay, how much you consume, how long it takes to grow this till it's harvestable, and so on. And then, of course, at some point you have to say, winter is coming. Winter is always coming. And then you have to think, okay, I'm going to plant, for example, I'll give you an example. At this point in the year, this is very early spring, we're about to put the peas in the ground. And what happens when peas are harvested, you get a couple of weeks where some of the peas are ready and you don't want to waste them, so you pick them, but you basically pick enough for a couple dinners a week. And then comes a time when it gets too dry and too hot for the pea plant to keep flowering. And at that point, you watch the plant, you see, okay, it's not flowering anymore, or there's just like a couple flowers left. It's done. And now you've got to harvest the whole row of peas that you planted. So you are going to have 10 kilos of peas in one go. What do you do with them?
Come eat them.
Dude.
I mean, luckily you can peas pretty well, but then that adds a whole other level.
So this is the thing.
Yeah.
What do you do with them, right? And you can dry them, but then every single thing you do requires the process to actually preserve, and then you have to think about storage. Because if you dry, you have to think how you're going to store this so that it doesn't get moldy, or moths come and lay their eggs in it, or some shit. And for example, if you pickle, yes, you can pickle. That's an excellent way to do it. It's probably actually the best. But of course, there's a bit more involved because you have to do it properly. You have to have jars. You have to have the pickling liquid and so on. But overall, that's probably the best method. The other method is freezing. Freezing is very nice in a way because if you do it properly, you freeze them. You freeze them. And then when you cook them again, they're pretty much fresh. So that you really you keep the texture and the taste very nicely.
Have you ever frozen peas that you grew yourself?
Yeah. Lots.
Because a lot of...
And by peas, I don't mean...
You mean like the full...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like snow peas.
Because commercially, a lot of the freezing happens with like flash freezing, right?
Yeah.
And that preserves the food a little better. So if you've experienced it firsthand, yeah, the like the full peas, that's quite fibrous, so it'll retain its structure a bit better.
Yep.
But like if you try and freeze something, it's a little bit softer in general. That's gonna break down pretty well if you freeze it slow.
Freezing you have to be real careful with.
Yeah.
It doesn't work with everything. And with beans and peas, you can freeze them, but first you have to blanch them before you freeze.
Yeah. Yeah.
Blanch and then dry, and then you freeze them.
Interesting.
Like not dry as in dry them out, but
Just not like
the
dripping.
moisture has to come off.
Yeah,
of
yeah.
it. But yeah, so that's the other thing is like looking around you, seeing the fruit trees that are around you, getting into preserving, making jams and sauces and things like that. I'm telling you, we still have jams that Serena made. I just opened a jar from 2018.
Wow.
And
What was
it's
in it?
still, huh?
What was in it?
Strawberry kiwi. And it's still no problem.
Probably could have gone on for a little while longer, eh?
Maybe. And that's another thing about preserving, especially fruit. If you're gonna do jamming, if you take strawberries for example, and you just make 100% strawberry jam, okay, that's one thing you could do, but you're gonna use a lot of your strawberries. Another option is to take what we call like a filler fruit. Filler fruits are typically fruits that are cheap at the time that they are cheap in the year. And you basically get them and do like half-half. So really good filler fruit is kiwi and pineapple. You can make we have delicious, half berry, because berries are typically more expensive, and when you grow them, they're kind of precious.
They're not as voluminous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They boil down real low and stuff, so you have a lower amount of berry. So to kind of stretch it, you'd get like pineapple or kiwi, and you do like half-half, and it's so good. I mean, we did strawberry pineapple, so it's great, fantastic.
Yeah, that's amazing combo. Could use some more actually.
Yeah, we have lots still.
Take a swing by.
Yeah. And if you have a source for fresh honey, that stays real good too for many years. If you get blossom honey or Blütenhonig, the sort of springtime honey that is white, it's kind of the creamy texture, how it looks. It's not transparent. Make sure you keep it in a cool place, because it will ferment if you keep it in a warm.
That's what happened to our honey here.
Exactly. And I took it home to our place. Within a week, it stopped.
Did you make mead?
No. I actually really like it the way it is. It's kind of fluffy. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of, because it's been the air inside, I guess, has been doing its thing. I don't mind it.
I would actually like to taste that.
Well, there's still lots there.
I'll swing by for some jam and honey.
Yeah. We didn't get a whole lot into the gardening thing. I could talk long and long about gardening. About what you can grow where and how and all that kind of stuff. It's really fun. I enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, the aspect of having a place to grow and also knowing how. I've tried growing stuff. I've never really been successful at growing anything edible. I grew lentils. That was kind of cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, but like actually seriously growing food is way more difficult than I think most people think.
Yeah.
It's not just like you chuck a seed in the ground.
Yeah.
And when you actually imagine like, oh crap, now I have to actually grow food in order to sustain myself, most people would completely screw it up. I can just imagine now if that was actually the case where people had to grow food for themselves, you would have so many people just like in a panic and frenzy, just like shoving seeds in the ground and like nothing's coming up, but they're like,
what are you planting? I don't know.
Yeah, it's just like grow you. And then you have some people who actually know what they're doing, you know, like with their gardens. I wouldn't want to be them.
Yeah.
You would have people, even if they didn't come directly over stealing their plants, which people would definitely do. You would have people just being like, teach me, sensei. They could actually earn a lot of money just by teaching people how to plant.
Yeah, I don't think money is going to be much.
Or not money, but like gold.
Oh.
They would literally have to be like head farmer, and then they'd have to have like workers.
Yeah. Basically feudalism.
So is that what you... is this why you're learning how to garden? You're going to be head honcho.
I have a plan.
He knows the way of the earth.
The soil is
Teach us.
No, but apparently also soil is really healthy for you to actually touch. Apparently, I mean, I remember this from years ago. Apparently there's like some kind of antidepressant quality to actually coming into contact your hands with the soil. It's a really weird thing. It's probably
very
bullshit,
soothing.
but that's the thing about gardening for me. It is incredibly therapeutic.
Yeah. I wonder if it's so much that gardening has like this capacity to make you feel better, rather than that's what default feels like. And being away from it so much, it's like being away from food. You know, it's like being in what is a pretty unnatural environment for people. Is it really that nature makes you feel good, or does it just make you feel normal? That's what it feels like.
Right. Well,
Because it's not like I'm elated to be in a garden or anything, but it is calming.
it's also rewarding in the way that you can very quickly, in a way, like for example, if I come now to the spring garden and I'm looking at the beds and I'm thinking, okay, the weeds are here, spring, you know, that's what happens. Spring comes and all the weeds come up.
Yep.
And I come out there and I just start getting rid of the weeds, and I can then look back at the patch. It's beautiful, ready for planting, you know. And
it's very satisfying. That's
it
true.
is.
Yeah.
And what's more satisfying is when you're growing the stuff and then you come into your own garden and you're picking a head of lettuce, you're grabbing a couple beets, and you're walking off to cook.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that just feels, and like herbs, for example, I harvest herbs. Of course, in the summer, it's a lot of fresh stuff, but in autumn, I do a kind of a big harvest, and I process the thyme, oregano,
Myra.
magikraut, and all the rest of it, basilicum if I have, which I usually do, and then I dry it all, and then I brush it all off, and I have a good sized jar that's just full of this stuff.
Yeah.
And this gets me through the winter. Use it in everything. And it's, you know, that's the reward really, is you can you know, pull stuff out that you've been working on throughout the year and enjoy it right through the winter. But it definitely is a lot of work. And it means that I don't have time to do other things, but like I said, it's therapeutic and it's healthy. It's healthy work too. It's good. It's keeps you a bit fit. And like every time I go to the garden and I do some gardening, the next day I always feel it. I feel it in my arms. I feel it in my legs, even though I still go running, you know, a few times a week. It's using different muscles in different ways. And
Yeah. No, definitely. It's got a lot of benefits. Thinking now I should probably get more into it. I mean, I've been helping around a bit in the garden, but
yeah, absolutely.
like I don't know how to garden.
Right.
I feel like that's something I should definitely learn. Everyone should know it to a certain extent.
That's the thing. It's not rocket science. And I really mean that. It literally is not rocket science.
Wow.
But yeah. It's almost everything that I know I have learned through experience. And I mean, I remember myself as like a 12, 13-year-old kid wanting to grow my own vegetables. I remember this as like, you know, I felt it was something that I could do. I could produce my own row of what were they? Beetroots,
Oh,
you know.
yeah.
And then I did potatoes. Felt so cool about it. Like I could go there and I could pick. I grew this sucker, and I'm gonna eat it.
It tastes so much better.
It does.
It's probably also like it literally is better quality when you grow it yourself. But just the fact that you grew it yourself is also just like I earned this.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
literally the fruit of your labor.
Yeah.
So, but of course, one has to know that you're not the only thing that's gonna live in the garden. There's gonna be lots of other creatures and critters that are gonna want to have a yum yum fest, and that's another thing.
That's
of
another
how
thing,
you deal
yeah.
with those, the pests. Right, snails and slugs are the number one problem, and that's we have found some really good ways of dealing with those, especially with our lettuce patches. But when push comes to shove, man, sometimes you just gotta throw out some of those green pellets. They're apparently safe, you know. You're not supposed to throw them on the leaves of the lettuce, so not on the plant, but just on the soil.
Okay.
And when you have an infestation of slugs, and mostly slugs, then you just whack those on and it's done. But we try as much as possible not to use that stuff, even though it is supposedly safe and biodegradable and all that. And from time to time, I notice there's a hedgehog in the garden, and I'm really happy about that because those guys just eat the slugs like constantly. So
And the green pellets, they're fine for them.
that's so usually if I see that the hedgehog is not keeping up, then I go to town with the pellets.
Yeah.
And that's pretty. You can pretty much tell if there's a hedgehog. It's quite easy to tell if there's a hedgehog in your garden because you will see the digging going on.
Yeah.
You'll see just like little holes everywhere. But another thing about having an emergency, well, being prepared for an emergency is having stuff that will see you through a currency crisis. So we're talking about gold and silver. If you can get your hands on some gold and silver, even just a good 1 ounce coin or something like that of gold, and a few coins of silver, what you can do with that in a pinch is you can actually just instead of using the whole coin in a go, or the brick in a go, of course, you can chip that stuff into smaller pieces, and of course that you can use that as currency. And then for bartering, alcohol and tobacco is excellent. Alcohol, tobacco, and, well, if you want to get exotic, get some chocolate. But yeah,
Yeah.
those are some ideas of how one can keep. One thing about buying gold, especially silver as well, but especially if you're going to buy gold, one tidbit. It has been known for the government to confiscate the citizens' gold, in times of war and crisis. So, if you don't want the government to know that you have some gold, maybe don't buy it online. Instead, just go to the goldsmith and do it cash over the counter and get your gold and run. No. Just do it over the counter with cash. Don't do it online. Because if you do it online, there's going to be a trace. And that's typically what happens when the shit hits the fan. When there's a currency crunch or something, gold is valuable. And it's not just valuable for currency, it's also valuable for industry. And that's what they'll come for. So, the they. The them. Yeah?
That's it for me.
Cool. Well, we had a bit of a different style this time around. It was a bit more shooting the shit and
Back to
talking
the
about
roots.
stupid celebrities. Um,
Yeah, that came out of nowhere.
I thought, I am not a celebrity guy. I do not follow celebrities. People say celebrities' names all the time, and I'm like, huh?
Who this? You know who Will Smith was?
I know who Will Smith is, and I know who Chris Rock is. Chris Rock?
Yeah.
Because he sounds like Shrek. Is he Shrek? Is he Shrek?
No, what
Oh,
the
fuck.
fuck? He does not sound like Shrek.
Who does he sound like? I know he sounds
He
like
sounds
something.
like the
No, the
zebra from
donkey.
Madagascar.
Is he near the donkey? Is he the
No,
donkey?
no, that's
Ugh.
Dr. Doolittle. What the fuck is his name?
Oh, him. Yes. I know his face. I don't know. See, I don't. Donkey.
No, Chris Rock is the voice of the zebra from Madagascar.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why? Okay. I knew it was something to do with an animation.
What?
What?
There's a new. Wait, it came out last year?
No.
2
come
years
on.
ago.
Dr. Doolittle.
Yeah. This is a new one, but apparently there's a new version of Dr. Doolittle with Robert Downey Jr.
That's so sad. Okay. Oh, there. Eddie
Murphy. Eddie freaking Murphy.
Eddie
yeah.
Murphy. Okay.
Yeah, he's the donkey.
Is he donkey?
Yeah, he's donkey. Do you know who Shrek is?
No.
He has something in common with a certain person who goes, "Do I make you horny?"
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know his name, but it's Austin
Mike
Powers.
Myers. Yeah.
Okay.
It's crazy. Like, they're the same freaking person. Blew
Yeah.
my mind when I found out it was
Mike
actually
Myers.
yeah, Mike Myers.
Crazy. Well, there you go. We've totally binged out now on celebrity talk, and we promise we will not do that for the remainder of this year.
You promise I'll bring him into it again. We'll be talking about this next week. Tune in next time where we pull up on this heated debate.
Well, guys, thanks for tuning in, and
Yep. Just to mention that since next week, things will be changing up a bit. We'll keep you posted on how that goes and when the schedule changes for us. So keep posted on that. Of course, if you want to get involved or be informed in everything that we're doing with the podcast, you can follow us on our social media, which is basically every social media, and the link is in the description for all of that. Other than that, we've been getting some pretty nice feedback recently, which is really nice to see. Definitely helps us with finding out what we want to do, and just in general seeing what you like and what you don't like is always helpful.
yeah, if anyone has ideas for what kind of stuff they want us to cover, we do have a bit of a laundry list of topics that we want to cover. But if there's it's could be something like first come first serve. If there's something that you say, hey, I'm really interested in you guys covering that, it doesn't hurt to put it in the comment. And remember to like, share, subscribe if that's your thing. And yeah, we hope to see you next time, and with more exciting topics.
100%.
Cool.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Take care, guys.
And see you next time.
That's the plan.